Okay, this is a test of the new Smith & Wesson M&P Apex Tactical AEK trigger, as well as Dawson Precision Tactical whatever grip tapes. That trigger is awesome.
She grew up in Nigeria, and then when she got older, spent some time in Germany, her mother's home country. Her music is amazing.
Oh. Okay. Anyways, this is also a test of the new chesty mount, the GoPro. Okay, I'm gonna shoot that blue thing way out there. I think I got it on the last shot. I don't know if you guys can even see it or not. Okay guys, it's kind of freezing cold outside today for some reason. So, I was going to do an outdoor kind of update / review of what I've done to my gun, and I'm wearing shorts, and my freaking legs are getting cold. So, I decided to get in my truck, set up my tripod in my truck, which is kind of not exactly easy to do. But I wanted to show you a couple things. Here, I have got the Smith & Wesson M&P Pro Series, the 5-inch barrel, and I, a little bit ago, ordered some Dawson Precision pre-cut grip tapes. Now, I have not tried these in competition yet, but they're a nice fit. I mean, they're perfect. They're pretty easy to put on. The one thing I've noticed is my holster has already ripped a chunk off right there, which, you know, who cares? Maybe I'll cut it on this one side back so that it doesn't, like, the inside of my holster's all scratched up from it now because just the way it grips the gun. The other side seems to be fine, as you can tell. But the other thing that I've done is put an Apex Tactical AEK aluminum trigger. This isn't the forward set sear trigger kit. It's a lot cheaper than that. This was $79.99, and in my opinion, it's completely worth it. It gives you basically a Glock trigger, which I have to admit is better than the M&P trigger. The M&P trigger has some faults that are inherent to the design because it's a hinged design. It's innovative, it's cool, but the practicality of it just isn't, you know, it's not very practical. It lends itself to a spongy feeling trigger. It's not as solid. Now, hopefully I'm even in frame on this, but you can tell when I push, the safety still works, the trigger safety. What's good about this trigger safety compared to a Glock trigger safety is a Glock trigger safety, the trigger is curved, but the little safety is straight. So even when it's fully depressed, you've got that lump on the trigger. This one, if I can get something to kind of show you, this one, when it is fully depressed, is completely flush with the trigger. you don't have that little bump. And it's really tiny. I mean, you almost can't feel that thing. When I was just shooting a second ago, I almost couldn't tell that it was there, which is nice. But the main thing about the trigger that's awesome is you've only got that much take-up, which significantly reduces the stock trigger take-up of the M&P just with the fact that it's not a hinged trigger. So you don't have to pull back as far. It is already just right now set further back than the stock trigger. So you pull it back to here. That's where the sear engages, you know, it's when the trigger bar loop starts to engage the sear right there. And you push, and man, that's like a crisp 3 pounds. I've got another sear that I could put in, and I could get probably a 2.5 pound trigger pull, but it doesn't have a crisp wall that you can get on. It is so light that you get to here and you can just really easy accidentally push through the whole trigger. What I like about the stock Pro Series sear is its geometry lends itself to a lighter pull, but it still has the crisp wall at the back of the pull, so that you have a distinct stopping point, pull, it barely moves afterwards, and if you want, you can even adjust that more. You kind of have to get into some gunsmithing stuff. You have to open up the loop of the trigger bar so that it will engage the sear faster. The thing you don't want to do, though, is do that too much to the point where your trigger, so that the over travel is, you want the over travel to be stopped by the trigger itself, not by the trigger bar hitting the back or by something else, because it puts undue stress on parts that you don't want stress on. And also the reset, I have the RAM in here, Apex RAM as well, and I mean, that wasn't a good example. You just barely go to there, and man, it's so nice. But anyways, those are some of the updates. I did some GoPro footage that I'll probably run in on this update. I have another update to make. Let me get this off the tripod so that I know that I'm getting the view I want. What I want to show you is my front sight has started to break because my holster is designed for a standard size M&P, and so my sight goes out further than the actual holster, and I didn't think that would be a problem at first because I could not get it to hit the holster in any possible way. And maybe it's not from that, maybe it's from something else. But as you can see how that's getting loose in there? And you can actually get it to rotate. I actually already had to take a heat gun and melt that down because the whole thing had cracked off. And if you can see, the front edge also has it. Now this is quite annoying because Smith & Wesson doesn't supply extra rods. So I don't know, I'll have to measure that rod and purchase a new one and put it in and melt it in myself, I guess. But what would be nice is if they already have a pre-melted end for this side, and the other side I can just melt myself, because who cares what it looks like? You just really care what this back end looks like. So anyways, that's the new gun. It's pretty awesome. One thing I've noticed is you can see the end of the trigger bar right there, that silver part, which is kind of weird, but doesn't affect the function of the gun. Here's a nice close-up of the trigger. Let me rack it and show you guys. Now this is my left hand doing the trigger pull, so who knows how it will be. But as you can see, that's the take-up. It's still more than other guns, but personally that much doesn't bother me. It's actually kind of nice because you can feel the trigger pull back to this wall and then you're ready to go. And while shooting, I never even come back out to here. I'm just bam, and then to here, bam, to here, bam, and you can just work it. But I'll get a good close-up of the grip tapes. As you can see, they give your thumbs some good traction. Your fingers definitely have good traction, and it follows the line of the removable backstrap almost perfectly. The only spot that's weird is it goes straight up there instead of following that a little, but with the smaller grips it might not even look as weird because they don't have this. So, and that's where my holster kind of ripped it off. You can see there's no residue underneath really, and if there is later, if you decide to take one off, they come in a pack of 3 for like 15 bucks. And so you could easily clean it off. It doesn't seem to be a problem. Also, actually, what I got as well are these numbered grip tapes for the bottom of your magazine. And what I didn't know is Smith & Wesson changed their magazines from a circle to a square, or the other way around. And so Dawson Precision knows that, and they made 2 separate holes, but as you can tell, you can't tell that they made 2 separate things for this. Let me grab another one just to show you. If I can get to it in a reasonable amount of time with all this crap in the truck. Okay, here's a good example. That one's a square. That one's a circle. Neither one, with the grip tape, you can't tell that the grip tape wasn't made for that distinct style of takedown hole. I think these, the ones with the circles, I bought aftermarket, and the ones that came with my guns had the square, which I don't know if they just always do that or if they switched their styles or what, but the ones that I bought aftermarket I'm pretty sure had the circle, and the ones that came with my gun I'm pretty sure had the square with both of my guns. Because as you know, if anyone actually watches my dang channel, you know that I have the regular Smith & Wesson M&P. Actually, I know this is horrible filming and that I'm kind of running long here, but safety check that. Just to give you an example of the difference in the trigger, look at that. Look how far forward that is. You have to move it from here all the way to here to get to that back wall, as compared to that. Now this still has pre-travel, don't get me wrong, but it's only that much. And then pressure, and that's all it moves. This one, on the other hand, all the way from there because it's hinged. So if you take the position of this furthest forward part, that's a huge take up. When you're actually shooting, you don't notice it as much. It's not that big of a deal. But you do have to come all the way to here, pressure, and see how you can see the trigger bending. That doesn't happen with the Apex trigger because it's a solid piece and it's aluminum. It's not plastic. There's nothing wrong with plastic. This will last a long time. It's just you get rid of this flex when you get the Apex tactical trigger. But then, so you've got take up, pressure, go. And then for the reset, this one doesn't have a ram in it. You can come up to there and then it catches. Did you see those first two moves where it should catch but it doesn't? That's the problem with the M&P trigger. And I'm running out of time. This is gonna end up being a lot longer video than I thought, but the new M&P shield has fixed that, I've heard. I'm gonna try and get one as soon as I can. As soon as I can afford it or find one. And we'll compare the triggers to those. Anyways, that's about all I had to show you. Check you out later.